I wanted to take a look at the very first submission that is due, and you can see that for first-time candidates, the first lesson cycle and the formative summative assessment tasks are due no later than December 15th. If you are done in October or November, you are more than welcome to submit early. There's nothing that says you have to wait until December to submit them. The other thing to keep in mind is you want to submit early enough that if you have technical issues, you give yourself time to work with their help desk to get the issues rectified. So December 15th, very bad idea. December 10th, yeah, okay, we can make it work because December 10th is a Thursday, December 15th is a Tuesday. Honestly, you should try to focus on getting it complete maybe that first week of December and submitting no later than December 7th. Just my recommendation. So, one thing to know about this handbook is this is on page 8. And when you look at page 9, that's where they jump right into that first lesson cycle that is due for submission 1. They finish on page 39 with the ending of that summative and formative assessment. So you have about 30 pages that covers everything that is due that first submission, which is again December 15th. In looking at the first lesson cycle, obviously it's important to pay attention to what is on the right hand side in their tips section. It's also extremely important to pay attention to what's in bold, but there's a couple other things that you really need to do. What's nice is they will give you an overview of what each of these forms are and what the evidence sources are. They also tell you in a nice little form what you're going to be doing for this particular task. What you really need to pay attention to is anything that says avoid disqualification, anything with the red and white exclamation point. When they say disqualification, what they really mean is automatic failure. So if you are submitting your graded student work or your student reports and their first name and last name are visible, their street address is visible, anything like this, you will automatically fail. They talk a lot about this at the different resident educator coordinator meetings that I go to. There are certain things that mean automatic failure. What's nice is they'll at least put it in the book and tell you. So the first one really shouldn't be a problem for us because we are teaching online. We already know that Jigsaw works quite well, but what you have to remember is that you are downloading the video and uploading the file into their system. You cannot give them a link to your Jigsaw recording. If you're worried about that, one thing you could do is actually make a Camtasia recording that is everything that's going on in Jigsaw. And they do have a help desk that will help you work through any technical issues about the uploading and making sure the file is accessible to them. So you might want to play around with it and test a couple different things just to make sure that you have a handle on the recording and the exporting and the saving of the file. But again, you've got to make sure that you pay attention to each of these bullet points. If they figure out that you've paused it or you've edited it, it could be rejected. So just keep that in mind. And again, make sure full names are not visible. As soon as they see a full name, even if it's on one document, you will fail. So disqualification equals failure because they will reject it. Not to be scary, but that's the way it is. So when you keep scrolling down, what they will do is they'll give you these forms with all of these blanks in it. You are not filling out the blanks on this paper though. This is what you will have to answer when you actually get to the online submission process. So they're just giving it to you in paper form so that you have the information ready. They do have here in a little footnote about, for example, are you an online education program? So that one little star is for this right here, the school setting and environment. They have had plenty of online teachers complete the RESA. So they are a little bit familiar with that, and I believe they have enough assessors that they are able to use the same couple assessors for any online school because they have a familiarity with how it's structured. But anyway, so take a look at all of this and explain it the best you can. But notice also they do want some specifics about your class. So if you are making a recording for your 5th grade class, do not include information from your 6th grade class. Try to limit it to the actual class that you are using for your submission. Notice also they do want to know right off the bat how many students are high performing, mid performing, and low performing. What data source you base that on is up to you. If you know 100% of your students completed iReady, that would be a fantastic tool to use because iReady sorts that data for you. It's really easy to count. However, if 100% of your students have not completed iReady, then you need to think about what can you use that would allow you to sort students into these 3 categories. So you really do need to think that one through. All of this information I know is in Backpack. I'm sure it's in Evolve. I'm not entirely sure where to get it because I haven't been to the Evolve training. But if there's something we need and you can't figure out how to get it, we will work on it and we'll get it. So when we jump ahead to their actual forms, there are always word limits. So on this page, they just happen to all be 200 word limits. On another page, I know I saw 275 words. But it is really important to go through and actually read the prompts and see what it is they're asking. Notice you get 200 words for each of the 3 boxes below. That's fantastic. But this is just one part of it. What I recommend is that you don't just rely on the prompts, you jump to the rubric and you really pay attention to the differences between levels 2, 3, and 4. There are probably teachers who have been teaching for 5 or 10 years who are not consistently reaching level 4 on this rubric. My recommendation is that you do your best to meet and exceed level 3 as often as possible. If you set yourself up to say, I'm only ever going to try to reach level 4, you really have to think about the experience you're bringing into it. Not everyone is capable of level 4 every single time, and that is okay. There is nothing to say that you must achieve a level 4 every single time. That's not what this process is about. So make sure you really read through the difference between level 3 and level 4 because this is how you will be assessed. It's not, I gotta turn that off. It's not always just about what you see in the prompt. It's about how it's explained in the rubric. So really take a look at this level 3 and level 4. So with Quality Rubric 1.2a, which is the quality of your learning outcomes, the very first bullet point, you see a difference. For level 3, some high expectations for students, but level 4 is high expectation for students. That means in every single instance that you provide them, you have high expectations. On level 3, second bullet, some indication of high levels of academic rigor. Level 4, consistent evidence of academic rigor. On level 3, third bullet, generally clear connection to school and district curriculum priorities, state academic content. Level 4 is full alignment. So you really have to look at their descriptor to see how they're differentiating between level 3 and level 4. And it's also good to check out level 2. I would say if you're operating at level 1, we really need to meet separately and talk about why are you at level 1? What support do you need to help push yourself to level 2? Like I said, you should strive to meet or exceed level 3, but if you get a couple level 2s in there, it doesn't mean failure. So don't look at that and say, oh geez, I can't reach level 3 at this, I may as well not try. No, you need to try, but let's talk about it. So you can keep scrolling through this and see, because you're limited to 200 words, I don't think that trying to type in an Adobe Acrobat document is your best bet. I think typing it out in a word processing document, Microsoft Word document, is better because you can use that feature to count words. So again, definitely go through and read this. Oh, there's that 275 words for A and B. Just make sure that you're really looking at that rubric. And if you think it would help to print this entire guideline document, definitely do it. Break it down into the first thing that's due in December, and then break it down into the second thing that's due, later. And really pay attention to these rubrics and really evaluate yourself. Which is where the conversation about what the facilitator, Christina, is able to do. You cannot send me your completed submission and say, please tell me what you think. Am I level 4? Am I level 3? Am I level 2? What do I need to change? Do you see any problems? Absolutely, 100%, I cannot do that. That is not the role of the facilitator. They have talked about this at several meetings, and they have flat out told coordinators that if they are reviewing the candidate's information, they're doing it wrong. That doesn't mean you can't talk to each other, of course, but what I see myself doing is talking to you about the rubric and talking to you about the prompts before you start working on it, which is where I'd really like to sit down and talk to you about what do you think right now you would be able to do this first lesson cycle on. How many students do you have actively working on it? Do you have enough students and enough content and enough awareness of that area of the course where you're consistently at that level 3, either reaching it or exceeding it? Again, I cannot review your submissions. You can talk to each other about them. You could even talk to Amy Whitaker if you really wanted to and kind of get her feedback. But the way ODE looks at this is that you are showing the Ohio Department of Education, Stanford University, Educopia, that you are capable of doing this independently. That's the way they look at the RESA, is this should be you independently meeting the evidence expectations. So we can talk beforehand as much as you want. I do not mind. I will meet with you and I will talk to you about anything and everything. I'll even look over your lesson plans before you deliver it to students. I won't watch the video. I won't be at the taping, any of that. But again, I am here to help. I just have to structure my help so that it happens beforehand, not during and not after. So if you have any questions, you definitely should ask. Just keep in mind, I do have a couple limitations.